Chapter 1. The shadows of the trees were mottled, and the sunlight was like a pillar. The dust particles looked ethereal and unreal under the sunlight, rendering the vast forest even more magical. Gu Mingming just stood in the pool and looked up at the man a step away from her. He looked down from above like a deity, a head of thick black hair casually draped behind him, like a cloud dyed with ink, giving off a unique charm. Beneath his straight brows was a pair of peach blossom eyes that were full of passion, making one fall into them if they were not careful. She had a tall nose and moderately thick red lips, but at this moment, there was a dazzling smile. Although it was just a faint smile, Gu Mingming was mesmerized and completely forgot about her current situation. Her mind went blank, and she instinctively reached out a hand, wanting to touch this elf-like man. Perhaps this was the legendary obsession with lust. The man looked at Gu Mingming's little hand reaching out to him, and frowned indiscernibly. Not because of anything else, but because he was annoyed that she was not alert at all. If the person who came was not him, would she also be standing in the water, wearing a strange outfit that made the blood of beasts spurt out, and stretching out her fair arm defenselessly? However, when he thought that she might be seen by other beasts, he felt inexplicably angry. This evil fire came so strangely that he didn't even know what was going on. But when he reacted, he had already scooped the drenched female out of the pool and hugged her in his arms. She was so small that he could encircle her with one arm. After weighing her in his hands, she was practically weightless. It was said that this lake was one of the 5 elements in the beast world. The messenger of the beast deity that was born every 1,000 years would randomly appear among the 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. According to the legends, it was almost time for the new messenger of the beast deity to descend. Would it be her? But she was still so small and looked like a young female. Would the beast deity send an underage female as a messenger? While the man was in a daze, Gu Mingming's mind was also spinning. This person was really too handsome. 100 times more handsome than the Prince Charming Senior in her school's swimming club. Swimming club? Prince Charming Senior. Gu Mingming suddenly regained her senses when she thought of this. She suddenly sat up straight and looked around. Oh my God! She was clearly practicing swimming in the school's swimming pool to create a chance for her to bump into her Prince Charming. How did she end up here while she was taking a breather? No matter how you looked at it, it didn't look like the school's swimming pool. Noticing the abnormality of the little person in his arms, the man tightened his grip, forcing the little thing who was looking around to notice him. If her clear and innocent eyes were not looking at him, he would feel very uncomfortable. Gu Mingming turned around and stared at the handsome guy, who was just inches away from her. She hesitated with her hand on her thigh. This must be a dream. As long as he pinched his thigh hard, he should be able to wake up. Once she woke up, this handsome guy would definitely be gone. But if he didn't wake up, would he drown in the swimming pool? Between beauty and life, Gu Mingming fell into a stalemate. In the end, beauty won. Gu Mingming broke into a grin and wrapped her arms around the man's neck. She leaned her head against the man's neck and rubbed against it to experience the texture of the handsome man's skin. After finding a comfortable angle, she heaved a long sigh and said, "Since it's just a dream, it's fine to be a little presumptuous." Man! Gu Mingming raised her head and scrutinized the man in front of her in all seriousness. She squinted her eyes like a lecher and said, "For you, I took the risk of drowning, so a kiss should be fine, right?" Man! Gu Mingming looked at the man's obviously resistant expression and smacked her lips. She slapped the man's cheeks with her little hands and pounced forward like a hungry tiger, kissing the man's red lips with a smack. By right, with his skills, he should have been able to avoid it. But he just couldn't react in time. He could only watch helplessly as this little thing teased him. According to his usual temper, he should have thrown her out harshly to punish her. But looking at her provocative and mischievous look, his chest itched as if a cat was scratching it. That feeling was very strange, as if something was violently colliding against his ribs uncontrollably, trying to break through his chest. Was this a sign of danger? But damn it, he actually felt that this feeling was not bad. Gu Mingming looked at the pink tips of his ears, and viciously felt that the little devil in the depths of her heart was greatly satisfied. She held back her laughter and patted the man's shoulder, saying, "It's against the rules to be as handsome as you. So, although I kissed you, I won't take responsibility." Man. First he was teased, and then he was abandoned. What should he say in this situation? He had never encountered such a situation in the past. Gu Mingming's little interest was satisfied, and she felt extremely happy. Although compared to the man in front of her, the senior from the swimming club was not considered a Prince Charming, but she still had to wake up. If she did not wake up now, she might not be able to wake up in the future. So, Gu Mingming waved her claws at the man, who had not yet recovered from being taken advantage of by her. She composed a melody to herself in her heart, and put on an affectionate look like a natural-born playboy, saying, "Meeting me is your biggest misfortune. Forget about me and go on with your happy life." Babe! With that, Gu Mingming pinched the inside of her thigh hard. Hiss! Pain! Pain! Why did it hurt? Gu Mingming's eyes were filled with tears as she looked at the purple spot on her thigh. Her brain disconnected once again. Aside from the topic. Chapter 2. If it would hurt, then it would not be a dream. Gu Mingming felt like crying, but had no tears. She really wanted to howl into the sky and ask who could tell her what exactly was going on. She had just gone through the inhuman torture of the college entrance examination and successfully entered S University. Her 4 years of shameless university life had just begun. Why the hell did she end up here just because she was swimming? Where was this? Gu Mingming's mind was completely blank. She could not think at all, and there was only one strange thought in her mind. Transmigrated? Was this the same as the plot in novels? Thinking about this, Gu Mingming then noticed the man who was hugging her without saying a word. According to the plot in novels, the first male to appear would usually be the male protagonist. Then prince, emperor, cult leader, or a miracle doctor. May I ask who you are? Gu Mingming selectively forgot that she had teased him just a moment ago, and had already set up the image of a Casanova for herself. What forced kiss, what I will not take responsibility. Those were all fleeting clouds. Let's forget about it together. The man was filled with curiosity towards this little female in front of him. Her emotions were so changeable, and there was always an expression on her delicate little face that made people unable to shift their gaze away. Sometimes she was teasing, sometimes she was naughty, sometimes she was charming, and sometimes she was as terrified as a deer. Elvis. She blurted out. Elvis said his name. Hello, Sir Air, I am Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming smiled stiffly and nodded as a form of greeting. All the people with the surname Air flashed through her mind, but unfortunately, the only one she could think of was Erkong from My Fair Princess. But she vaguely remembered that Erkong's surname was Fu. Gu Mingming. Elvis repeated Gu Mingming's name playfully. There was a strange feeling in his heart, as if it was telling him that this strange word Ming would have an extraordinary meaning to him. Sir Air, may I know what dynasty is it now? Is it the Qing dynasty? Gu Mingming knew that it was weird to ask like this. It was as if someone suddenly grabbed your hand on the street and asked you if it was the People's Republic of China now. You will definitely think that the other party is crazy. If it was possible, Gu Mingming also wanted to find a chance to test the little servant beside her. But this scene, haha, appearing here in a polka-dotted bikini, even without asking what dynasty it was already weird enough. If one had too many lice, one would not be afraid of being bitten. At worst, one would be treated as a madman. I am Elvis, not Lord Cole. Elvis corrected her coldly. He did not like her calling him by the wrong name. Gu Mingming looked at Elvis, who was looking straight at her. Why did she see anticipation in his eyes? For some reason, Gu Mingming followed Elvis's wishes and called out, Elvis. Seeing Elvis nodding his head in satisfaction, Gu Mingming also laughed heartlessly. She was completely unaware that her smile had dazzled Elvis's eyes and occupied his heart. Gu Mingming was only wearing a bikini that covered her private parts. Elvis had already sized her up from head to toe when he pulled her into his arms. There were no mating marks on her body, nor was there any scent of other males. This further confirmed his guess that Gu Mingming was a young female. This knowledge made Elvis very happy. because it meant that as long as he brought Gu Mingming back to the tribe and raised her by his side, he would become her first partner. Thinking that this weird little fellow would become his partner one day, the corners of Elvis's lips curled up slightly, revealing a devilish and bewitching smile. He removed the beast's skin from his waist and wrapped it around Gu Mingming's body. He did not mind that he was naked. After all, it was common for both males and females in this world. But he did mind that Gu Mingming was seen by others. Thinking that someone would see her beauty, he felt suffocated in his chest. He even wanted to dig out the eyes of all the beasts. Gu Mingming was in Elvis's arms, wrapped tightly by him, only revealing a pair of big clear eyes. The male hormones on the beast's skin made Gu Mingming's heart beat wildly. She even forgot the question she was asking just now. What did it matter which dynasty it was? There was a handsome man, that was the main point. Elvis was very satisfied with Gu Mingming's covetous look. There was only his reflection in that pair of clear eyes, which made Elvis feel extremely satisfied. He started to understand why those males would become like idiots after mating. Even if their own partners asked them to die immediately, they would not hesitate to cut open their chests, dig out their beating hearts, and offer it to their females with both hands. Compared to the little female's smile, what was a life worth? Aside from the topic regarding names, please forgive Jean Eyre for not being good at naming. Everyone's names were chosen using the automatic naming function of the writing software. If it was similar to someone else's name, then it only proves that we are using the same writing software, of course. If there are any babies with good names, please let me know in the comments section. I want both male and female names, long-term and in large quantities. Chapter 3. When Elvis, who was carrying Gu Mingming, appeared in the Saint Nazaire tribe, it caused quite a commotion. The reason was that Elvis had a weird habit. He hated the touch of females. The first beauty of the tribe, Nina, had expressed her interest in him many times, but he always avoided her like a snake. This directly led to him being single till now, and also caused the rumor that he liked males to spread like wildfire. Today, he actually appeared in the tribe with a female in his arms. It would be weird if he did not attract attention. The little female in Elvis's arms looked as tiny as a cub. Her entire body was wrapped in beast skin, revealing only a pair of big eyes, like a lost deer in the forest, shining with an innocent and pure light. It was so clear that one would feel that they were being cruel if they did not smile at her. Taking a closer look, wasn't that beast skin Elvis's close-fitting beast skin dress? His what to do. The more secretive Elvis was, the more curious everyone was. Elvis, where did this little female come from? No one knew who spoke up, but this question attracted a wave of agreement. Elvis frowned, feeling a little displeased. But now, he was already surrounded so tightly that not even a drop of water could escape. Although it was easy to forcefully break through, the people surrounding him were after all his own tribesmen, and they did not have any ill intentions. If he forcefully broke through, he would definitely be injured or killed. Looking at those familiar faces, Elvis felt that he could not bear to do it, so he could only stand still and reply with a black face. I picked her up. Picked up? The crowd erupted into cheers. Saint Nazaire has another precious female. That's great, that's great. Gu Mingming's lips twitched, and 3 black lines hung down her forehead. Female? What kind of weird title was that? Before Gu Mingming could complain, she was shocked by a face that suddenly appeared beside her. She did not even see the face, but saw that person sniffing her body fiercely, before cheering excitedly. This little female does not have the smell of other males on her. She is a female that has not mated yet. Not mated, this little female has not mated. Gu Mingming could not take it anymore. She stretched out her white hand, and used all her strength to slap that person who was sniffing her fiercely. Although Gu Mingming did not really agree with the term female, and it was her first time hearing the word mated, she felt a sense of shame, as if someone was holding a loudspeaker and shouting Gu Mingming is a virgin in the school broadcasting room. Her face flushed. Gu Mingming stuck her head out from the beast's skin and glared fiercely at that person who was slapped. Didn't your mother tell you that you will be beaten for molesting girls? Silence. From the moment Gu Mingming stuck her head out, the The surrounding air started to solidify at a speed visible to the naked eye. Everyone turned to look at Gu Mingming in unison. Their wooden faces were expressionless, making it hard to tell whether they were happy or angry. At this moment, Gu Mingming finally sensed the danger. The people around them were all strong men with tall and sturdy bodies. They looked to be at least 1.9 to 2 meters tall. She was 1.7 meters tall, and was carried in Elvis's arms with one hand, as if he was carrying a child. Gu Mingming, who was 1.7 meters tall, was carried by Elvis with one hand like a child. At that moment, she felt a little regretful. Under the situation where there was a huge difference in power between them and the enemy, it was not wise to provoke them. Especially since they were not on the subway. There were no enthusiastic onlookers who would stand out to help her, and no auntie from the neighborhood committee who would help her beat up Yao Yao Zero. If she apologized now, would it be too late? Just as Gu Mingming was pondering how to apologize so that she would not be beaten to death, the person who was just slapped suddenly broke into a grin. He gently touched the side of his face that was slapped, and said with an intoxicated expression, "This little female touched me. She likes me. Eh." Chapter 4. Little female, my name is Colin. My body is very strong, and I can protect you. Choose me as your partner. Little female, my name is Barit. I have sharp fangs and claws, and can catch many prey for you. Mate with me, and I will definitely not let you go hungry. Little female. The corners of Elvis's lips twitched. If the crowd had not been bewitched by Gu Mingming's beauty to the point of losing their minds, they would have known that he was about to lose his temper. This was clearly a warning sign of danger. However, reality proved that regardless of whether it was the modern world or the beast world, males were creatures whose brains were filled with lust. Although Gu Mingming had always looked forward to the treatment of a peerless beauty being surrounded by handsome men, she was quite frightened when it really happened. She shivered and instinctively leaned into Elvis's arms. She wrapped her little hands around Elvis's neck and buried her little face in his neck like an ostrich. Elvis, who had just stretched out his hand to slap away all the tribesmen, froze on the spot just like that. The soft and gentle breath on his neck made him confused and mesmerized. Gu Mingming's arms that were wrapped tightly around him displayed her reliance and trust towards him to the fullest. His nostrils were filled with the unique and elegant fragrance of a female, making him restless. He could not deny that he liked the feeling of being relied on by her. He liked it so much that the surrounding noises seemed to have disappeared. His ears could only hear the sound of her soft breathing. Elvis used one hand to support Gu Mingming, while the other hand, that was raised halfway to hit someone, suddenly changed direction. He pulled up Gu Mingming's beast skin and wrapped her up again. Pleased by Gu Mingming's reliance, he was in an extremely good mood, and even treated his tribesmen more gently than usual. It was as if he was not the one who was so angry that he wanted to kill someone just now. She is not of age yet, and can't mate for the time being. Elvis's voice was deep and rich. His tone was calm and indifferent, but filled with an undeniable dominance. When she is of age, her partner will be personally chosen by Leah and me. Elvis did not tell his tribesmen that Gu Mingming might be the messenger of the beast deity. Firstly, it was because he was not sure himself, and secondly, Saint Nazir was not strong enough to protect a messenger of the beast deity, who could make the entire beast world go crazy over her. This was something that Leah had discussed with him long ago. If this batch of messengers of the beast deity were to descend in their lifetime, and were extremely lucky to be found by them, then this news must be kept a secret until it could no longer be hidden. And in this period of time, what they needed to do was to make Saint Nazir even stronger. So strong that even if the news of the messenger of the beast deity being here shocked the entire beast world, they still had the confidence to make her stay and protect her. Elvis's words calmed the seething tribesmen down a little, but only a little. Barit was one of the best warriors in the tribe. Although he could not be compared to Elvis, he was considered an outstanding male compared to the others. Moreover, The scent on this little female's body was very fragrant and sweet, and the refreshing feeling made his heart throb. Not to mention that beautiful little face. Just the scent on her body alone was enough for him, Barit, to sacrifice all his loyalty, and even his life for her. So Barit took a step forward, raised his chest and said, "Leader, please let me take care of this little female." "You." Elvis raised one of his brows and looked at Barit with rage written all over his eyes. Barit could feel the strong beast pressure emitting from Elvis. If it was any other time, he would have bowed down to him respectfully, but now, he clenched his teeth and straightened his back. Because he felt that this was the leader testing his determination. Of course, this was not a beautiful misunderstanding. Because Elvis's rage was not a test. If not all the people surrounding them were single men, even someone with a little bit of love experience would be able to tell that Elvis was jealous. Because at the same time when Barit made his request, Elvis had already imagined the details of Gu Mengmeng and Barit living a loving life together in his mind. The veins on his forehead could not help but pop out. Elvis looked at Barit and squinted his eyes dangerously. At this moment, beads of sweat the size of beans had already started to roll down Barit's face. The immense pressure made breathing a difficult task for him. But looking at the petite female in Elvis's arms, he was determined not to take even half a step back. Aside from the topic, let me explain about raising a young female. Because there were too few females in the beast world, males who had the ability and were recognized by the female's parents would raise the young female by their side and wait for her to become her first partner when she matured. It was similar to the concept of child brides in the old society. Here, Gu Mengmeng was picked up by Elvis and had no parents. In the Saint Nazaire tribe, Elvis was the leader, so Barit made a request to Elvis to raise Gu Mengmeng. But Elvis would definitely not agree to it. Chapter 5. Barit's insistence became a provocation in Elvis's eyes. Elvis smiled coldly as he curled his lips. Trying to snatch someone from his arms? Courting death. Elvis took half a step forward and stood in front of Barit. He raised his hand and placed it on Barit's shoulder as though it was weightless. In an instant, Barit's face contorted into a mess. Before the pain on his shoulder could be felt, Barit could already hear the sound of his bones breaking. Barit looked at Elvis in shock and fear. He did not understand what he had done wrong. Why was Elvis angry all of a sudden? Make way, all of you make way. In this strange silence, a voice suddenly sounded. It was as if the world that had been paused had started to operate again. It was common for males to attack each other. Although Elvis did not usually fight with his tribesmen, Barit was after all a warrior in the tribe. As the tribe leader, it was normal for Elvis to test him occasionally. After all, he had already mentioned that he wanted to raise a little female. How could he not test his abilities? Thinking about this, the naive males did not think much of it. A gap was torn open in the tight encirclement. The single males surrounding Gu Mengmeng and Elvis were pushed to two sides, creating a path. An orc who was obviously shorter than the others walked over from this path, with her head held high. Stopping 1.5 steps away from Elvis, she brushed her messy and sticky hair, and struck a pose that she thought was seductive. Pinching her throat, she said, "Elvis, you're back." Elvis frowned impatiently. Compared to this female in front of him, Barit was really not a problem at all. Hence, he let go of Barit's hand, causing him to stumble, and be supported by others to Leah for treatment. "Elvis, I heard that you picked up a female? This is great news. This way, there will be 4 females in our Saint Nazaire tribe." That female orc seemed to be used to Elvis's indifference. She did not feel disappointed because of his impatient expression. As she spoke, she tried to take a small step forward. As expected, the moment she lifted her leg, Elvis took a huge step back, widening the distance between the two of them. "Elvis, why are you like this? I just want to get to know the new female. After all, we will be living together in the tribe in the future. With me, the first beauty of the tribe, as her friend, I believe she will be able to integrate into the tribe very quickly." Gu Mengmeng could not help but sneak a peek at this orc, who claimed to be the first beauty of the tribe. This fleeting glimpse almost made her fall out of Elvis's arms. She had bird's nest hair, green beady eyes, an upturned nose and a big mouth. Most importantly, she had no eyebrows. She bared her yellow teeth. Those who knew that she was smiling, but those who didn't would think that she was going to bite someone. Below the face was the shoulder, and the head was directly connected to the body. This person had no neck. Waist. Yes, she had a waist. Her waist was as wide as two of her shoulders. Calling her a pregnant woman wasn't even enough to describe it. With this size, she had to be pregnant with 10 babies to have such a thick waist, right? Even the sweaty and sour smell on her body could not conceal her shyness. Gu Mingming was not scolding her, but she really had a shyness on her, like a zoo? Gu Mingming felt that her sense of beauty had collapsed. She dared to call herself the first beauty of the tribe like this? Most importantly, those passers-by who could easily outshine Korean celebrities by 3 streets actually had faces full of approval and did not refute her. Gu Mingming suddenly felt that she could understand why everyone was so enthusiastic towards her just now. Even this bird's nest hair could be considered as the first beauty of the tribe. She could only be considered as below average in the modern world. Wasn't she going to dominate the universe here and be extremely beautiful? Aside from the topic, Gu Mingming. She's the first beauty of the tribe? Elvis, yes. Gu Mingming, what about me? Chapter 6. Elvis obviously didn't buy Chicken Nest Hair's goodwill, and didn't even reply to her. He only kept repeating Lee's words in his heart. Females are very precious, and are the foundation of a strong tribe. For the tribe, no matter how angry I am, I cannot kill a female. Seeing that Elvis did not say anything, Chicken Nest Hair misinterpreted his expression of suppressing his anger as him being unable to extricate himself from her beauty. She was the first beauty of Saint Nazir, and she was so kind that she took the initiative to accept a new female. Which male would not be moved? Thinking about this, Chicken Nest Hair bared her yellow teeth and walked towards Elvis while twisting her thick waist. You, don't come over. Gu Mingming could not stand it anymore. She could just close her eyes and not look at ugly people, but the smell on Chicken Nest Hair was too pungent. Did she want her to not breathe? Chicken Nest Hair was shocked by Gu Mingming's shout. No one had ever dared to talk to her like that. She was so stunned that she could not react in time, and just stood there obediently. Gu Mingming did not care what Chicken Nest Hair was thinking about. She only hugged the handsome Elvis and said, "The smell on her is too strong. I'm going to vomit. Can you bring me away from here first?" Elvis's eyes flashed with a hint of approval. She wanted him to bring her away from here. Did this prove that she did not have any feelings for the males who were trying to get close to her? Even Barit, who had requested to be raised, did not make her feel anything special? This meant that in her eyes, only he, Elvis, was special. So, although this little female was not of age yet, she still had a good eye for males. If Gu Mingming knew what Elvis was thinking, she would definitely roll her eyes and tell him that he was thinking too much. She was just disgusted by Chicken Nest Hair's smell and wanted to run away. But this was not important. Although Elvis was not interested in females, he would still follow the basic rules of the beast world. Any request made by a female to a male would be unconditionally fulfilled by the male who was pursuing her. Because this was a test from the female to the male. Only the male who passed the test would have the chance to gain the female's favor. Generally speaking, a female who was adored by many wouldn't even make a request to a male who wasn't interested in her. So, did this mean that Gu Mingming liked him? Thinking of this, Elvis nodded his head seriously. As the leader of Saint Nazir, how could he disappoint the little female who liked him? Thus, Elvis transformed into a wolf on the spot and used his teeth to lightly wrap around Gu Mingming's beast skin. The petite Gu Mingming was then flung onto his back. Leaving was a piece of cake. But since it was a test given by Gu Mingming, Elvis decided to do his best. Thus, a gilded black wolf carrying a small bundle of things disappeared on the spot, leaving only an afterimage. Just now, did Elvis put the little female on his back? I think so. No way. Only partners can ride on their backs. Elvis, little female, impossible, we must have seen wrongly. Ha ha ha. I must be mistaken. The dumbfounded male beasts started to doubt their own eyes. After laughing stiffly, they lied to themselves and said, "Elvis must have just left with the little female in his mouth. It's just that he was too fast, so we didn't see it clearly." Chapter 7. Elvis will never mate with a female. He only has eyes for Leah. "Hiss, why did you hit me?" His words were interrupted, and the person who was hit realized that he had blurted out what was on his mind when he saw his friend winking at him. Elvis's sexual orientation was a secret known to the whole world, but it was one thing to know and another to say it out loud. The person who was hit cleared his throat awkwardly and tried to cover it up. "What I mean is, the little female is not of age yet. Elvis will definitely not mate with her now. Even if he did not mate, he will not let the little female get on his back. Otherwise, if the little female does not choose him as her partner when she becomes of age, Elvis would be disloyal to his future partner. In that case, even if it was a strong male beast like Elvis, the female would not want him. So Elvis definitely did not let the little female get on his back just now. Yeah, that's what I meant." While everyone was discussing in self-deception, there was one person who did not say a word. He was Barit, whose shoulder was crushed by Elvis. He saw clearly just now that Elvis had thrown Gu Mingming onto his back without any hesitation. So his love rival was actually Elvis? No wonder he was so angry just now. What should he do? Barit felt his fighting spirit ignited, and it was at an unprecedented high. The little female he liked was indeed different from the rest. She could even make Elvis, a 10,000-year-old iron tree, blossom with her. His taste was really good. Ah, so proud. LVC. Only when Elvis was out of sight did Puffy Hair regain her senses from Gu Mingming's "Don't move." She was so angry that her face turned red. She screamed Elvis's name at the top of her lungs and chased after him with a stomp of her feet. Although her speed could not be compared to Elvis's, she knew where Elvis lived. As the first beauty of the tribe, she was worthy of having such a strong male like Elvis. That damned bitch. She did not know what she did to Elvis. She actually tricked him into letting her on his back, and even left such a beautiful woman like her at the side. She could not forgive. She definitely could not forgive that bitch who did not even dare to show her face. Chicken Nest Hair ran aggressively towards Elvis's cave. His partners and pursuers looked at each other before chasing after her. However, he had only taken 2 steps when he was blocked by a figure. "Barit, move aside." Chicken Nest Hair stood on the spot with her hands on her hips and legs spread apart. She stretched her neck and glared at Barit with her bean-like eyes. "Nina, why are you in such a hurry?" Half of Barit's shoulder was crushed by Elvis, so his right hand hung weakly at the side. Even though he was in pain, he still had the imposing aura of one man holding the pass against 10,000 enemies. With him standing there alone, Nina, her 3 partners, and her group of pursuers did not dare to go around Barit to continue chasing after Elvis. "I'm going to kill that bitch to protect Elvis's innocence." Chicken Nest Hair. Oh no, her name was Nina. Nina had a self-righteous attitude, as if Elvis was her male. Barit laughed and looked at Nina with disdain sarcastically, asking, "Why does Elvis need you to protect his innocence? Who do you think you are?" Aside from the topic, publishing during subscription was a good thing. Habitually storing manuscripts. Every morning between 8:20 and 8:30 a.m., publishing manuscripts in advance. Chapter 8. Gu Mingming was still in a daze until she was brought back to the cave by Elvis and placed on the haystack. She just stared at Elvis turning from a dark wolf back to his arrogant male form in front of her. She opened her mouth in an O, but could not say a word. Everything in front of her was way beyond Gu Mingming's understanding. This had totally subverted her worldview. What happened to the agreement that animals were not allowed to turn into spirits after the founding of the country? Hey, is this Yao Yao Ling? There was a wolf here that turned into a spirit, and he was so damn handsome. He was clearly a black wolf, but his skin was as white as jade. Elvis stood at the entrance of the cave against the light, and his entire body seemed to be emitting a hazy halo, just like a deity. That broad shoulders, narrow waist, firm abdomen with distinct cleavage and perfect mermaid lines were causing one's imagination to run wild. Wait a minute. Gu Mingming's gaze followed the mermaid lines downwards and suddenly paused. Something seemed not right. Where was it? Ah! Gu Mingming let out an earth-shattering roar, almost breaking Elvis's eardrums, which had excellent hearing. Elvis frowned slightly, but did not say anything. He just quietly watched Gu Mingming scream until her face turned red, and it was obvious that she was out of breath. Elvis then took a step forward and held onto Gu Mingming's waist with one hand and supported the back of her head with the other. His dark red lips slowly pressed onto Gu Mingming's lips, then phew. Elvis blew into Gu Mingming's mouth. Gu Mingming was stunned. She stared at Elvis with her beautiful eyes, and her little face was like a ripe apple. She did not know if it was because of embarrassment or the lack of breath. She placed her little hand on Elvis's chest and asked with a guarded expression, "What are you doing?" Elvis replied with a calm expression, "I am saving you." Saving me? Gu Mingming was even more confused. "You will die if you only breathe out but not in," Elvis said with a straight face, and Gu Mingming could not refute him. Gu Mingming pouted her lips sullenly. There was a feeling of depression, that she could not win in a fight, and could not win in a verbal argument. Gu Mingming stared at Elvis's face for a long while before she calmed down. She comforted herself and said, "All right, looks are justice. You're handsome, so whatever you say is right." Elvis did not really understand what she was saying, but he roughly understood that she was praising him. So he nodded his head and gladly accepted this compliment. Gu Mingming felt helpless. The heavens were indeed fair, giving Elvis a heaven-defying appearance, so he was destined to be lacking in terms of intelligence. Gu Mingming patted Elvis's shoulder with the feeling of caring for a handsome retard and said in a coaxing tone, "Then I'm fine now, can you let go of me?" "No," Elvis answered matter-of-factly. "It's quite comfortable to hug like this." Gu Mingming was so angry that she ground her teeth. She stretched out her slender arms and waved her fist, which was not threatening at all, in front of Elvis. She pretended to be fierce and said, "Didn't your mother tell you that you will get beaten up if you act like a hooligan?" Elvis thought about it carefully, and then shook his head. He tilted his head slightly to one side, and looked straight into Gu Mingming's eyes with his sparkling eyes. He asked in a sincere tone, "What is acting like a hooligan?" "Hugging me like this is acting like a hooligan. Blowing air into my mouth just now is also acting like a hooligan. Any body contact without the other party's consent is acting like a hooligan," Gu Mingming said firmly, and her words were powerful. But Chapter 9. Yes, she was the one who made the first move at the lake. She touched and kissed Elvis and flirted with him. But at that time, she thought she was just dreaming. Gu Mingming's face turned red and she roared after a long while, "I took the initiative, that's called love. You took the initiative, that's called acting like a hooligan." "Why?" Elvis fully displayed his shameless attitude and wanted to make Gu Mingming speechless with his questions. But his attitude was extremely sincere, and she could not find any feeling that he was teasing her. All right, it was just because he was handsome that Gu Mingming could recognize him no matter how she looked at him. But even if he was handsome, he had to wear clothes. Gu Mingming could not break free from Elvis's embrace. Her strength was not even enough to tickle him. So Gu Mingming could only turn her face to the side and said in a low muffled voice, "Because you are not wearing clothes." Elvis was stunned for a moment before the corners of his lips curled up. Ignoring Gu Mingming's evasion, he moved his face close to hers, and his warm and moist breath landed on Gu Mingming's ears. He asked in a hoarse and seductive voice, "If I put on my clothes and take the initiative, would that also be called love?" MMM. Gu Mingming's heart was beating rapidly from Elvis's sudden flirtatious actions. God knew that although she looked like an infatuated girl, she did not have the guts to do it. Today's teasing of Elvis was already the most inappropriate thing she had done in so many years. She often teased the little boys in class and school, and the more they avoided her, the more excited she became. But if the other party took the initiative, she would run away faster than anyone else. So, the love theories that Gu Mingming usually talked about in class were really just theories. Elvis did not understand why Gu Mingming's face suddenly turned so red, and her heartbeat was too loud. He did not even need to lean against her chest to hear it clearly. He only felt that the faint fragrance on her body smelled nice, so he moved closer to smell it. Why did she suddenly look like she was sick? Elvis frowned. If Gu Mengmeng was sick, he should first bring her to Leah and let him treat her. But for some reason, he did not want other males to see Gu Mengmeng in this sick state. Even Leah could not do it. Even though they already had an agreement, Elvis released Gu Mengmeng. Even though he was extremely unwilling, he still obeyed her wishes. He did not want to be the hooligan beast that she mentioned, because he could clearly feel that Gu Mengmeng did not like this word. Most of all, he didn't want to be like the others. He remembered that Gu Mengmeng had used this word to scold Barit when they first entered Saint Nazir tribe. Even if he was a gangster, Elvis wanted to be a unique gangster. How could he be like Barit? Thinking about this, Elvis raised his proud chin and looked down at Gu Mengmeng with a disdainful look. His slender and well-defined fingers pointed at the beast's skin on Gu Mengmeng's body and said, "But my clothes are on you." Gu Mengmeng had an urge to vomit blood. Was she digging a hole to bury herself in? What do you mean by putting on clothes and taking the initiative is called love? What should he do now? He was going to show his love. Was she going to run around in a bikini in this fairy cave? Chapter 10. Gu Mengmeng really wanted to tear off her clothes handsomely and throw it on Elvis's face, replying domineeringly, "I'm returning it to you." Unfortunately, looking at the Sherwin bikini that she had specially bought to attract the senior's attention, Gu Mengmeng felt like thousands of alpacas were galloping through her heart. This swimsuit was clearly very cool when worn in the swimming pool. Why did it become so embarrassing when the scene was shifted to the cave? Gu Mengmeng pulled her collar and wrapped Elvis's beastskin dress even tighter. She was clearly weak but still forced herself to raise her head and said, "Don't you have any other clothes to wear?" "Yes." Elvis's reply was still sincere. "Then why don't you just take something else to wear?" Gu Mengmeng puffed her cheeks and complained in her heart that Elvis was stingy and not gentlemanly at all. But she only grumbled a little in her heart. The current situation did not allow her to request Elvis like this. After all, he was a wolf, and it was already very polite of him not to eat her up until now. "But I like this one." Elvis's eyelashes fluttered, casting a thick shadow under his eyes, adding a hint of ambiguity to a simple sentence. Yes, he liked this beastskin dress, because it was stained with her fragrant breath. Gu Mengmeng sighed. She had no choice, who asked this dress to originally belong to him. So Gu Mengmeng took a step back and asked, "Then can you lend me another piece of clothing to wear? When I find a suitable one, I'll change it and return it to you." Elvis pondered for a while and did not reply. Instead, he slowly inched towards Gu Mengmeng step by step. Gu Mengmeng instinctively took a step back, her mind buzzing. This was he going to eat her up? Just because she wanted to borrow a piece of clothing? So stingy. "That. I won't borrow anymore, all right?" Before Gu Mengmeng could finish her words, she was already locked into Elvis's arms. Elvis's left hand circled around Gu Mengmeng's shoulder, while his right hand circled around her waist. Using his height advantage, he placed his chin on the top of Gu Mengmeng's head and sighed softly, "You're so skinny." Gu Mengmeng laughed bitterly. If this was the present world, she would have been overjoyed to hear this. But now, she could not be happy no matter what. This was his evaluation of the food. "Haha, I'm so skinny, I'm really sorry to you." Gu Mengmeng gritted her teeth and mumbled softly, "It's all right, it's not your fault." Elvis felt a little heartache towards Gu Mengmeng's apology. It must have been tough for her to stay by the beast deity's side. After all, to be able to serve by the great beast deity's side, she must have gone through many trials and tribulations. However, everything was fine now. Since she had come to his side, he would definitely take good care of her and make her fat. Gu Mengmeng did not know what Elvis was thinking. She just felt that this conversation could not continue. "Who the hell begged you to eat me? How could he be picky? Have you considered my feelings when I'm about to be eaten?" Just when Gu Mengmeng wanted to retort, she suddenly felt the hand on her shoulder lighten. The hand that was originally on Gu Mengmeng's shoulder had already moved to her butt. Gu Mingming exploded on the spot. She could only feel all the blood in her body rushing to her head. Her face must be extremely red now. What the F***, she was really being molested, right? Chapter 11. Gu Mingming was infuriated. Food also had a temper, alright. You can eat me if you want. I can't beat you anyway. So I can only be at your mercy. But you want to eat me and act like a hooligan at the same time. That's your fault. Anyway, I'm going to be eaten. Gu Mingming's courage grew as she thought about that. So she hooked her knee and prepared to give little Elvis a heavy blow. If the situation was optimistic, she might die a quick death. However, Elvis was the best among the male beasts, so he had an almost instinctive reaction to danger. So when Gu Mingming's knee was at least 2 thrusts away from little Elvis, Elvis turned his body and let go of Gu Mingming. He did not say anything. As for Gu Mingming's sudden attack on him, he understood it as what Gu Mingming meant by any physical contact without the other party's consent is considered as a hooligan. Based on his understanding that although Gu Mingming loved to play hooligan with others, she basically had zero tolerance when others play hooligan with her. It was not hard to understand her current level of attack. Gu Mingming looked at Elvis suddenly letting go of her, and not clamoring for her to return his clothes. He even left her behind, and walked into the deeper parts of the cave alone. She did not know how to react in that moment. Was he angry? Gu Mingming looked at Elvis's faintly discernible naked back in the dark cave, her face in confusion and disarray in the wind. When she regained her senses, Elvis had already walked back from the deepest part of the winter snow. He was still holding a white beast skin dress in his hands. Elvis stood in front of Gu Mingming and handed the beast skin dress to her. He lifted his chin slightly, indicating that this beast skin dress was for Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming tentatively touched the snow-white beast skin dress, tilted her head and asked, "Lend this to me?" Elvis originally wanted to say that it was for Gu Mingming, but in order to have a justifiable reason to strip her clothes in the future, Elvis held back his laughter and nodded, silently admitting that this dress was lent to Gu Mingming. Girls had a natural yearning for beautiful clothes. It was an irresistible temptation. Gu Mingming was already very restrained and reserved when Elvis took out the beast skin dress. She did not immediately pounce on it. Now that he said that he wanted her to wear it, what was there to be polite about? In ancient times, people were given a full meal before they were beheaded. Perhaps it was popular here to give you some beautiful clothes to wear before eating? Gu Mingming's eyes were filled with love as she held the beast skin dress and measured it against her body. Feeling that the length and weight were very suitable, she could not wait to wear it. But seeing that Elvis had no intention of leaving, Gu Mingming frowned. "I need to change my clothes. Can you go out for a while?" "Why?" Elvis leaned against the wall of the cave with a faint smile on his face. He liked Gu Mingming's expression when she saw the clothes. He liked it very much. "Because I want to change." Gu Mingming was speechless. "Go ahead, I won't stop you." Elvis could not wait to see Gu Mingming wearing the beast skin that he personally made. He did not want to wait for even a second. Gu Mingming weighed the pros and cons. Anyway, Elvis had already seen her wearing a bikini by the lake, and he had been carrying her the entire way back. He had already seen everything she wanted to see. It was too late for her to be reserved now. Moreover, if she did not remove the beast skin that was wrapping around her, Elvis would continue to show his sincerity in front of her. Gu Mingming was really worried that if this carried on, her moral integrity would be broken to the point that she could not get it back. Because now, she had vaguely gotten used to seeing Elvis without any clothes on. Although she would still intentionally avoid looking at little Elvis. But even if she accidentally saw it, she would not want to scream, "Ah, moral integrity, Lord, don't abandon me." Digression. Small explanation. In the beast world, females will only wear the clothes that their partners made for them after they mature. Moreover, due to the severe imbalance in the ratio of males to females, a female will have many male partners. Hence, females will usually only wear the clothes that their partners made for them. So when Gu Mingming expressed that she liked the clothes that Elvis made, Elvis was very excited. Chapter 12. Gu Mingming turned around and loosened the beast's skin wrapping around her body. That beast's skin slid down Gu Mingming's delicate and fair shoulders, landing beside her feet like a butterfly with broken wings. Gu Mingming's original plan was to end the battle quickly and immediately wear the new snow-white clothes that Elvis had lent her after taking off the beast skin dress. But things did not go as she wished. The more anxious she was, the more she could not wear it properly. In her panic, she could not even differentiate the front and back of the new clothes. Just as Gu Mingming was struggling with the new clothes, Elvis, who was standing behind her, felt blood rushing to his head. Something warm flowed out from his nose, and he could not even reach out to wipe it off. He could only stare blankly at Gu Mingming's fair and beautiful back. Even his breathing was suffocating. The scene of the beast skin dress sliding down was slowed down by his eyes and replayed endlessly in his mind. The Gaussian blur effect and the selfie effect of the beautifying camera made Elvis feel an unfamiliar but instinctive urge that was about to come out. He wanted to hug Gu Mingming fiercely in his arms and bully her until she cried. But his legs could not move as if they were filled with lead. His breathing became heavier, and Elvis felt as if there were 10,000 horses galloping in his chest. A pair of bloodshot eyes squinted slightly, looking dangerous and evil. But Gu Mingming did not notice it at all. Not only was she defenseless, she even turned around and looked at Elvis with her innocent and clear big eyes. She pouted her lips and said pitifully, "Can you help me? I don't know how to wear this." This undoubtedly added a lot of firewood to Elvis's primitive desire. But Elvis, who could not control himself facing her back view, could not put his inner thoughts into action when he met Gu Mingming's eyes. He clearly wanted to bully her until she cried just now. But now, he felt that this pair of clear eyes was more suitable for smiling. Elvis took 2 deep breaths and suppressed the evil fire in his body. He slightly moved his numb body and walked to Gu Mingming with the stiffest and weirdest posture he had ever walked in front of her. Without saying anything, he took over the clothes that Gu Mingming had tangled into a mess and unfolded them in a few moves. "Stop," Elvis said succinctly in a commanding tone. "Oh!" Gu Mingming clenched her fists cooperatively and placed her palms on Elvis's outstretched hand. That movement was like a cat begging for food. Thump thump. Elvis was teased by Gu Mingming's adorable look, and his heart was beating so fast that it was about to jump out of his throat. Elvis bit his lower lip and retracted his hand that Gu Mingming was holding, ruffling her hair fiercely. Looking at Gu Mingming, whose hair was disheveled like Sadako, Elvis finally heaved a sigh of relief. Without being able to see his face, the burden in his heart was much lighter. "What are you doing?" Before Elvis could rejoice, Gu Mingming used her hands to push the hair that was covering her face to the sides and protested. The way Gu Mingming used her hands to hold her hair looked like she was supporting her cheeks with her hands. Due to her height, she had been looking up at Elvis the entire time. Her current pose was no different from a 45-degree angle. Chapter 13. Elvis felt as if his blood started to freeze. His fingers were so stiff that it was difficult for him to even bend them. He did not even know what kind of willpower he used to put the white fur dress on Gu Mingming. But he knew that his discomfort would be reduced if he helped her wear the dress. But things did not go as he wished. The white rabbit skin was fluffy and soft. The longer fur had already been removed during the tanning process, leaving only about 1 centimeter long fur. The flawless white fur made Gu Mingming look even more adorable. Her smooth shoulders were exposed from the sleeveless beast skin dress, white and tender. Following the shoulders down, there were 2 well-proportioned and plump arms. Her fragrance filled his nostrils and his heart kept echoing in his chest. "This pair of arms had just wrapped around my neck." The A-shaped design did not emphasize on the shape of the waist, but the unintentional crease at the waist made Gu Mingming's waistline even more captivating, making it hard for him to control himself. Further down, the line of her perky buttocks propped up the second wave of the dress, making it look extremely beautiful. The dress stopped abruptly at about a fist's length above Gu Mingming's knees. Gu Mingming's straight and beautiful legs were like a piece of art carved out of jade, well-fitting and beautiful. Elvis felt the warm blood flowing out from his nose, making him feel like he was rushing forward. Meanwhile, little Elvis stood upright with his head held high, showing off his impressive figure. "Are you all right?" Gu Mingming was a little worried. Would Elvis die from excessive blood loss with this kind of method that did not require money? The first wolf, demon to die from a nosebleed in history. Haha. If it was in the modern world, it would definitely be on the headlines, with the title shocking. 1,000-year lone wolf trained to become a demon, but died from blood loss in one night. Was the truth behind the distortion of human nature, or the loss of morals? Please tune in tonight at 8 p.m. on Nonsense TV. Gu Mingming will see you there or not. Elvis was a little flustered facing Gu Mingming's concern. On one hand, he did not want her to see him in such a pathetic state. But on the other hand, he felt warm. Elvis was in a dilemma, but he did not know which side he was leaning towards. Just as Elvis was in a dilemma, a piercing voice came from the entrance of the cave. "Elvis, come out right now." Elvis frowned. All the anxiety and sweetness in the atmosphere had been wiped away by this loud howl. Bending down to pick up the beast skin dress that Gu Mingming had just changed out of, and wrapped it around his waist, Elvis used his chin to point at the haystack at the side, indicating for Gu Mingming to rest in the cave first. Then he turned around to deal with Nina, who was screaming at the entrance of the cave. Nina was completely unaware of their situation in the cave, as the orcs had a very strong sense of territory. All the males could not approach the territory of other males without an invitation, or else they would definitely be attacked. Nina had no idea what was going on in the cave. Although Nina was a female, Elvis had never liked her. So every time she went near Elvis's cave, Elvis would come out and beat up her partners. There was no other way. That was the rule in the beast world. If a female caused trouble, her male would have to bear the consequences. Nina's partners had been beaten up many times, and Elvis's beatings were getting more and more ruthless each time. The last time, Elvis even warned Nina that if she dared to approach his cave again, he would not let her off even if she was a female. Only then did Nina slightly restrain herself. Every time, she would stand 2 meters away and shout at the top of her lungs, making Elvis annoyed, and he would naturally come out to see her. But this time, her motive was not to harass Elvis but, aside from the topic, "Elvis, you're flirting with me." Gu Mingming. "Yeah, it's unintentional." "Elvis, you have to take responsibility even if it's unintentional." Gu Mingming spread her hands. "Take responsibility? What kind of joke is that? When have I ever taken responsibility when I come out to play? Elvis, if you don't take responsibility, I will eat you up." Chapter 14. Elvis, you must uphold justice for me. That bitch actually instigated Barit to hit my males, and even humiliated me. Sob, sob, sob. She must be jealous of my beauty. That's why she did that. The green vein at the corner of Elvis's eyebrows twitched. He had nowhere to vent his anger after being teased by Gu Mingming, and Nina's words were akin to throwing a match into an explosive warehouse, completely igniting the fire in Elvis's eyes. Elvis did not even stop for a second when he passed by Nina. Barit and Nina's males were fighting? With a battlefield, he could exercise his muscles. Orcs had a sensitive sense of smell, and Elvis was one of the best in this field. Barit and Nina's males seemed to be fighting rather fiercely. Even at such a distance, he could smell the scent of blood if he paid a little attention. So, Elvis easily found the direction where Barit and Nina were at, and dashed over without looking back. Meanwhile, Nina, who came to seek help, did not leave with Elvis. Instead, she sneered, turned around and walked towards Elvis's cave. That bitch. Not only did she get close to Elvis and wear his clothes, she even entered his cave. Unforgivable. It was really unforgivable. Even she, the first beauty of the tribe, had never entered Elvis's cave before. How could that bitch enter? With that thought in mind, Nina walked towards Elvis's cave aggressively. She thought, since that bitch could enter, she could enter too? Even if Elvis was angry after returning, wouldn't he just beat up her males to vent his anger? So what if he beat them to death? She was the first beauty of Saint Nazir, and the number of males who wanted to mate with her could not be counted with her fingers and toes. Even if her current partners were all beaten to death by Elvis, they could only blame themselves for being too useless. It was not a pity for trash like them to die. Bitch, come out right now. Nina was confident that no matter what, Elvis would not really hurt this precious female like her. So she grew bolder. For the first time in her life, she bossed around Elvis in the winter snow with the aura of a female owner, giving out orders. The soundproofing of the cave was really not good, so Gu Meng Meng had long heard the conversation between Nina and Elvis at the entrance of the cave. Looking at Nina's current posture, it was as if she was the first wife catching an adulterer. Even if Gu Meng Meng was a fool, she would know that Nina was not friendly now. Could it be that Chicken Nest Hare and Elvis were really a couple? As Gu Meng Meng thought about this, she sighed in her heart. What a waste of Elvis's handsome face. Not only was he not the male lead in the first scene, but he was also paired with such an ugly freak with bird's nest hair. Sigh, my worldview has collapsed, my worldview has collapsed. With that thought in mind, Gu Meng Meng had already hidden herself at the edge of the cave entrance in a flash. She pressed her back against the wall and tried her best to hide herself. Unfortunately, before she could steady herself, Nina had already dashed in. Gu Meng Meng's white furry dress was so eye-catching, it was impossible for Nina to pretend that she did not see her. So the two of them just stared at each other, feeling as if time had stopped. If I say that I did not do it on purpose, would you believe me? Gu Meng Meng did not move at all, and only laughed awkwardly before asking weakly. What? Nina did not understand what Gu Meng Meng was talking about without any rhyme or reason. She just felt that whenever she spoke to her brain seemed to have short-circuited. Hee. Gu Meng Meng laughed dryly. Then, she suddenly took out the wooden stick that she had hidden behind Elvis the moment he came out of the cave, and smashed it towards Nina's head. Nina was not prepared and was smashed by Gu Meng Meng. She saw stars and her legs turned into jelly. She swayed a few times and fainted after saying you. Aside from the topic, Gu Meng Meng, you are a damn wolf. You don't want to eat me, but sleep with me? Elvis, you know that I want to sleep with you, yet you still treat me and Nina as a couple. Gu Meng Meng, you two are not a couple. Why did she come here looking like she wanted to catch you in the act? Chapter 15. Gu Meng Meng threw away the wooden stick in her hand and smiled embarrassedly. I didn't hit you on purpose. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. I'll leave first. Handsome men were precious, but love was even more valuable. If it was for her life, she could throw both away. This place was not suitable for humans to stay in. Anyone was a pervert. Gu Meng Meng deeply felt that she had fallen into a thief's nest. Although Elvis was handsome, he was a demon and a carnivore that had transformed into a demon. Who knows, he might just eat her up if he was unhappy. So Gu Meng Meng decided that she would be a fool if she did not run now that Nina had sent Elvis away, and there was no one else in the cave other than Nina, who had fainted. Gu Meng Meng had the intention to enter Elvis's cave to see if there was anything she could borrow to defend herself, but the cave was too dark. Gu Meng Meng could not see anything in less than 10 steps away from the entrance of the cave. Hence, she gave up on the idea of stealing, and decided to go into battle with a light pack. Staying alive was more important. Gu Meng Meng sneakily stuck to the wall like a thief and tiptoed her way out. She did not know that to the senses of the orcs, her weird actions were not really hidden at all. In addition to her unique fragrance and the eye-catching rabbit skin dress, it was impossible to pretend that they did not see her. However, females had always been a high and mighty existence in this world. They could do whatever they wanted. No matter how strange their behavior was, they should be tolerated and acknowledged. As males, their tolerance and acceptance towards females were very high. So although they had long discovered Gu Meng Meng, she seemed to think that no one had discovered her, and was happily walking in circles in the tribe. So the group of males could only play along and pretend that they did not see her. When they were about to meet her, they would take the initiative to avoid her, and give way to the little female, so that she could advance in stealth to her heart's content. When Gu Meng Meng finally realized that she was walking in circles on the spot, It was already her third time walking to the entrance of St. Nazir. And this time, Elvis, Barit, and the orcs who were watching the fun all stopped what they were doing and looked at Gu Mingming in confusion. She really couldn't pretend anymore. This was the third time. Seeing that she had already been discovered, Gu Mingming decided not to hide anymore. Dusting off her hands, she straightened her body and walked out openly. She waved at Elvis and Barit saying, "Hey, are you all busy? I'm just casually looking around. You guys continue, don't mind me." Once Gu Mingming said that, the situation instantly went out of control. The little female said she came to see me. A male spoke first. "Stop being so smug. The little female is obviously here to see me." The other pushed the male beside him aside harshly, pushing himself forward a little, so that Gu Mingming could see more clearly. "Come on, the little female is so beautiful, how could she like you? You must be here to see me." Another person pushed the second person to the side and squeezed himself in front of Gu Mingming. Were there so many people here just now? Gu Mingming was dumbfounded. She completely did not know that because she took the initiative to appear and greet everyone, it signaled the end of her moving forward in secret game. So, the males who had been following her all jumped out one after another, wanting to become familiar with the beauty. Compared to Gu Mingming's concealment skills, these males were really godlike. Naturally, Gu Mingming would not be able to discover them. So, the small scene that only had a few dozen people watching the fun suddenly turned into a few dozen people surrounding Gu Mingming. This really gave Gu Mingming a fright. This was the matter of her hitting Nina discovered? So she was blocked by everyone? Gu Mingming was a classic case of having a guilty conscience. So much so that she completely did not hear what the males were saying. Aside from the topic, "Gu Mingming, you can't see me, you can't see me, you can't see me, Elvis. I'm not blind, Barit, Elvis is right." Chapter 16. Why did you come out? Elvis was displeased. He did not know why, but he just did not like how these males surrounded Gu Mingming and tried to please her. Gu Mingming shrugged her shoulders. If she said that she came out to escape, would Elvis swallow her alive in public? She looked around and saw Barit standing not too far behind Elvis. His right hand hung unnaturally, and there were wounds of varying degrees on his body. However, his body was still standing straight, and he did not look weak at all. This kind of iron-blooded and tough visual effect perfectly catered to Gu Mingming's preferences. It was just like the barbaric version of Yu Sijin from Descendants of the Sun. Moreover, it was the Yu Sijin who was injured during a mission. Could he not be too handsome? Thus, Gu Mingming bypassed Elvis and walked straight to Barit's side. She stretched out her index finger and lightly touched the wound on Barit's chest, asking, "Does it hurt?" Barit did not know what to do with this sudden concern. All the blood in his body rushed to his head. Other than his deafening heartbeat, he could only hear Gu Mingming's voice echoing in his ears. "Does it hurt? It must be very painful." Barit shook his head stiffly, his eyes locked onto Gu Mingming's face. Even though he had seen Gu Mingming's face not too long ago, he was still stunned by her beauty at that moment. After all, Gu Mingming was just a girl in the first year of university, being stared at by a handsome guy with such a blatant infatuated but not perverted gaze. Her vanity was greatly satisfied. This made her feel better physically and mentally than using words to compliment her beauty. Hence, Gu Mingming gave Barit a big smile without hesitation. But she was rebuking him. "How can it not hurt when you're bleeding so much?" Barit smiled widely at Barit. Barit followed Gu Mingming's gaze and lowered his head to look at the wound on his chest. That was Elvis's masterpiece, but he had controlled his strength, so even though his flesh was torn open and bleeding, his bones and organs were not injured. For males, this was really not a big deal. But it was just a superficial wound. But the little female actually cared about him. Gu Mingming's finger gently brushed past the area around Barit's wound. The wound was so deep that his bones could be seen. Blood flowed down his chest, and had already soaked half of his beast-skin dress. But this fellow did not even frown. What a tough guy. Gu Mingming gave Barit a thumbs up in her heart. Raising her head, Gu Mingming looked at Barit against the afterglow of the setting sun. Her clear and bright eyes curved into the shape of a crescent moon. I'm Gu Mingming, what about you? What's his name? Bah. Barit. Barit's voice was trembling. His heart was beating wildly, causing his entire body to tremble. The little female had told him her name, and even asked for his name. Gu Mingming. Her name is Gu Mingming. Barit. Gu Mingming nodded, indicating that she remembered this name. Barit felt that his life as a beast was already complete at this moment. What else could be more blissful than the little female he liked remembering his name? If there was, then not only did she remember his name, she even told him her name. Barit felt that he was the happiest male beast in the entire world. At the same time, he had also attracted the hatred of all the single males in the tribe. Aside from the topic, Gu Mingming. Barit is so handsome, a tough guy. Author, you didn't say that just now, Gu Mingming. What? Author, you clearly slapped him in the 3rd chapter, and even asked him, didn't your mother tell you that you would be beaten if you molested a girl? You even said he was molested, Gu Mingming. Don't mention the past. Let it go with the wind. Author, admit it, you didn't remember Barit's face, Gu Mingming. Damn it, who could remember someone else's face in Elvis's arms? Author, now you say Barit is to your liking? What iron-blooded tough guy? Gu Mingming. Damn it, I'm not in Elvis's arms right now. Elvis, Mingming, come over. Gu Mingming, WH. What are you doing? Terrified. Chapter 17. Gu Mingming pulled Barit towards the stream. She originally wanted to avoid Elvis and find a chance to escape, but Elvis's face darkened as he followed behind them from a distance without being invited. Behind Elvis, there was an even larger group of single males with hearts in their eyes. They really wanted to send Barit flying, so that the little female could hold on to them with her delicate little hands. Unfortunately, there was still a black-faced Elvis in between them and Barit. In the end, no one dared to go past Elvis despite the strong pressure. When they reached the stream, Gu Mingming really could not withstand the chilly air on her back anymore. She could only let go of Barit's hand and helped him to the bottom of the tree, saying, "Sit here for a while and wait for me." All right. Barit looked at the hand that Gu Mingming let go and felt a sense of disappointment. He did not know what Gu Mingming wanted to do, but he suppressed the urge to hold that soft little hand back in his palm and never let go. He nodded. Gu Mingming was a precious female. Barit felt that he should be satisfied that she could hold his hand for so long. He could not make any requests to Gu Mingming just because of his mood. Not only would he be hated by females, he would also be despised by other males. After all, the females in the beast world were doted on by thousands. As a male, it was already his fortune to have the right to dote on females. How could he make any requests to females? However, Gu Mingming did not know what was going on in Barit's mind. She only felt that after letting go of Barit, the chilly feeling on her back lessened by a lot. She secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Looking around, she realized that the leaves here were much bigger than the plants in the modern world. The tree that Barit was leaning on now had thick, dark green leaves in the shape of an elephant's ear. They were about 1 centimeter thick, and there were countless layers of them. Gu Mingming picked a leaf that was the size of 2 palms. But when she walked to the bottom of the leaf, she realized that the height of the leaf was higher than she expected. She thought that she could reach the leaf by stretching out her arm, but Gu Mingming could not even reach it after jumping for a long time. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Dozens of males surrounded Gu Mingming in complete silence. They watched as she jumped 3 to 4 times on the spot with her face flushed red. They did not know what she was trying to do. Gu Mingming felt wronged. How could it be so embarrassing? Rolling up her sleeves, Gu Mingming glared at that piece of leaf and said, "Just you wait, I don't believe that I can't reach you." With that, Gu Mingming turned around and walked fiercely to the bottom of the tree. She nodded at Barit confidently. Seeing that Barit was about to stand up, she hurriedly pressed down on his shoulders and said, "It's all right, just sit here and don't move." All right. Barit sat back to his original spot, and maintained the posture Gu Mingming's instructions. It was the kind of motionless that did not even blink. Gu Mingming was used to being wild since young, so climbing up a tree or building a house was not a big deal. Like a wild monkey, she climbed up the thick tree trunk bit by bit. Although it was a little strenuous, she finally climbed to the branch. She carefully climbed up the branch and successfully picked the leaf that she had her eyes on. Goo goo god. Goo goo. Meng meng. Goo goo and goo goo. Goo to then the question was, why did this tree look a bit tall? Chapter 18. Gu Mingming was in a dilemma. Actually, she could ask Elvis or Barit to pull her up from below, and she could just jump down directly. But she was so imposing when she came up just now. Wouldn't it be too embarrassing to ask someone to fetch her now? Gu Mingming would never do something like this with a strong start and a weak finish. Thus, Gu Mingming bit the elephant ear leaf in her mouth and slowly retreated backwards, wanting to return to where she came from. But she did not have eyes on the back of her head after all. A tree branch as thick as an arm caught onto Gu Mingming's skirt, causing her to lose her balance and fall from the tree. Luckily, Gu Mingming's reaction was fast enough. She hugged the tree branch tightly with both her arms, so that she did not fall intimately to the ground. Gu Mingming was still biting on the leaf in her mouth, and did not loosen her mouth even after the fall. It was not because the leaf was important, but because she could not react in time in her panic. Elvis took a step forward and stood in front of Gu Mingming. He was now at the position of Gu Mingming's navel, looking up at Gu Mingming, who was hugging the tree branch tightly with a leaf in her mouth. She was in a sorry state. Her pure white rabbit skin dress was already bald in a few places after being rubbed by her. Her originally fair and charming face was also stained with dirt, making her look dirty. Now, she was hanging on the tree like a wild monkey, unable to go up or down. Elvis always knew that females liked to do strange things. He had seen many things that were even more incomprehensible than what Gu Mingming was doing now. But this time, it was different from the past. He was not annoyed or disdainful. There was an inexplicable evil fire in his chest that could not be suppressed. The leaf in her mouth was an eyesore. He wanted to flare up, but when he looked up, he saw that the skin on Gu Mingming's arm that was hugging the tree branch had already been scratched. Dark red blood faintly seeped out, and the air was filled with her unique fragrance, making one's heart palpitate. The fire in Elvis's chest was extinguished by Gu Mingming's pitiful look. In the end, there was only a puff of green smoke that ended with Elvis's sigh. Stretching out his arms, Elvis looked at Gu Mingming and said, "Come down, I'll catch you." Gu Mingming bit on the leaf and shook her head. It was true that she had lost her balance for a moment just now, but after hanging like that for a while, Gu Mingming had already calmed down. She estimated that her feet were just over a meter away from the ground, and she was prepared to jump down. She would not fall and hurt herself. Even so, she still wanted Elvis to carry her down. Then wouldn't all the pretense earlier have been for nothing? Just when Gu Mingming was thinking about how suave she should jump down from the tree to regain her dignity, she saw Elvis raising his eyebrows. With a light tap of his toes, he leaped into a beautiful arc, easily grabbing the branch that Gu Mingming was hugging onto. Then, as if he was just holding onto it lightly, the branch that was as thick as an arm bent with his strength. Chapter 19. Gu Mingming slowly descended along with Elvis's strength. Her line of sight moved from Elvis's eyes to his jaw, neck, chest. Ding, safe landing. Damn it, in that instant, Gu Mingming felt that her action of trying her best to climb the tree and being hung like a salted fish was extremely stupid. Her face was red, but she could not lose her temper. She could only clench her teeth and say, "Thank you." Then, she ran to the stream with the leaves in a huff. She folded the leaves into a cone shape and returned after filling it with water. When she passed by Elvis, she turned her head to the side and snorted coldly before walking away. Elvis was at a loss. By right, he had helped her, right? Or else how long would she be hung up there? But why was she so angry? Also, she looked so cute when she puffed up her cheeks. Elvis felt an inexplicable sense of pride in his heart. Because other females only knew how to order males around. They did not need to do things like climbing trees and plucking leaves personally. Hence, no one would hang on trees. Wow, his Gu Meng Meng was so special, so different from the rest. However, before Elvis could smile, his face froze into ice shards. Because Gu Meng Meng was using water to wash Barit's wound. Her actions were gentle and meticulous. Her eyes were focused on Barit's wound. She said while washing, "Your body is really good, you're not bleeding anymore. But you still need to wash it clean, or else it'll be troublesome if you get infected." Elvis's fingers bent bit by bit and finally clenched into a fist. His eyes looked like they were about to shoot out fire. So, she climbed up the tree to pluck leaves with such difficulty and almost fell down. She dirtied the dress he gave her, and her slender arms were full of cuts. All of this was for Barit. Just like Elvis, Barit, who was being taken care of, and a group of males who wanted to be familiar with Gu Meng Meng were also taken aback. Since the beginning of time, it was natural for males to take care of females. They had heard that the most gentle females could only occasionally smile at the males and say some considerate and complimentary words. Gu Meng Meng taking care of males like this was something that they did not even dare to dream about. And such a good thing actually fell into Barit's lap. Although the elephant ear leaf was huge, it could not hold much water. Moreover, the area of Barit's wound was especially large, so one leaf's water could not clean it completely. So Gu Meng Meng shook her leaves and smiled like a nurse. Please forgive Gu Meng Meng for having automatically substituted herself into the role of Kong Moyan from Descendants of the Sun. He got up and prepared to fetch some water from the stream. The moment Gu Meng Meng stood up, her entire body was lifted off the ground by her waist. This sudden turn of events gave Gu Meng Meng a fright. The elephant ear leaves that she had spent so much effort to pluck fell off. She struggled for a while and realized that the person holding onto her waist was Elvis, so she stopped struggling. She just frowned and asked, "What are you doing? Put me down quickly. Barit's wound has to be cleaned, or it will get infected." Yes. Then, he bent over and lifted up Barit, who had been leaning against the tree without moving at all. With a forceful fling, he threw him directly into the stream. What are you doing?" Gu Meng Meng was shocked by the splashing sound of Barit falling into the water. She glared at Elvis with her eyebrows wide open. "Someone will help him clean it." Elvis turned around and gave the male beasts a look. The male beasts, who were already so jealous that their teeth were aching, rushed into the stream and took care of Barit with all their might. There were also a few burly and tall beasts, who purposely blocked Gu Meng Meng's line of sight. They grinned at Gu Meng Meng, trying to hide the fact that they were hiding something. Elvis was very satisfied with this. He nodded and said, "Moreover, it will be cleaner this way." Aside from the topic, the editor told me to write 2,000 chapters a day, or else the queue time for the first release would be longer. For our Gu Meng Meng to be seen by more people, should I be more hardworking? Chapter 20. Just when everyone was taking care of Barit, an injured male beast stumbled over. "Elvis, Nina is injured." His voice was not loud, but it caused the air to freeze in an instant. To a tribe, nothing was more precious than females, because females directly determined the tribe's prosperity. Every female's injury was extremely serious to the tribe, especially in a small tribe like Saint Nazaire, where there were only 3 females. Nina's injury was definitely not a small matter. Even if Elvis was not interested in Nina, he definitely could not ignore her. "Where is Nina?" Elvis frowned and asked in a neutral tone. "She has already been sent to Leah." The male beast that came to report the news answered. Elvis nodded his head, using his gaze to signal the male to explain Nina's situation. That male followed closely behind Elvis, saying as he walked, "We did not see Nina when we returned to the cave just now, so we went to look for her. When we found her, she had fainted in your cave with a huge hole on her head. Blood kept flowing, and she was unconscious. Quentin sent her to Leah for treatment, so I immediately came over to inform you." Elvis listened to the person who came to report the situation while walking towards Lee's cave. He purposely did not look at Gu Mengmeng, so that she would not find out that he was in such a hurry to see Nina to bring her away from Barit. After all, even if it was a mated male, he could not stop a female from finding a new partner. Moreover, he did not have a status yet. Elvis was also feeling very conflicted. On one hand, he wanted to monopolize Gu Mengmeng, but on the other hand, he was worried that his jealous behavior would make Gu Mengmeng hate him. So he could only use his official position for his private interests and pretend that he was very busy. So, Elvis did not see that Gu Mengmeng was even more guilty than him. Nina had fainted till now and had not woken up? There was a hole on her head and she kept bleeding? Damn it, could it be that she was too ruthless just now and killed her? That. Gu Mengmeng's stiff lips formed a weird smile, tugging at Elvis's collar. Go ahead if you have something to do. I will stay behind to take care of Barit. No way. Elvis rejected her without even thinking. Why not? Gu Mengmeng asked bravely. Elvis paused for a moment. He was in such a hurry to bring Gu Mengmeng away from Barit, so when Gu Mengmeng requested to stay, he did not even have time to think before rejecting her. Why? Because he was jealous. But this reason, it seemed like, maybe couldn't hold up. So Elvis cleared his throat and pretended to be calm as he said, Nina is injured. We have to go see her first. But Barit is injured too. Gu Mengmeng would rather die than visit Nina. What kind of joke was this? She was the murderer. It's normal for males to get injured, don't worry about it. Elvis's face darkened. He realized that he hated Barit very much. This name was especially annoying when it came from Gu Mengmeng's mouth. What kind of logic is that? Males will also feel pain when they are injured and need someone to take care of them. Gu Mengmeng wriggled her body with all her might to express her protest. Even though her slender arms and legs were completely useless in front of Elvis, she had to show some attitude. Elvis was stunned by Gu Mengmeng's words. Males could also feel pain. Chapter 21. Gu Mengmeng took the chance when Elvis was distracted and used all her strength to break free from his embrace, running towards Barit like a duck. To Barit, this scene was like heaven, but to Elvis, it was like an endless abyss. In the end, Elvis did not chase after Gu Mengmeng, he just frowned and turned to leave. Yes, males would also feel pain. Elvis placed his palm on the left side of his chest. This suffocating pain seeped into his bones, but no blood could be seen, and the culprit that caused him such torment was running towards other males, attentively tending to those superficial wounds. Gu Mengmeng was in a state of running for her life. Naturally, she could not care about Elvis's feelings. All she could think of was how to avoid the people of Saint Nazaire to the greatest extent, so that she could find a chance to escape. This was also the real reason why she chose Barit, compared to Elvis, who broke the tree branch with his bare hands. The heavily injured Barit was obviously a more suitable candidate. When Gu Mengmeng ran to the stream, the scene she saw was a little strange. Most of the males had followed Elvis to Lee's cave to visit Nina, even though a large portion of them had already decided to woo Gu Mengmeng. Females were the most important treasures of the tribe. The males had the responsibility to protect all the females in the tribe before mating. Now that Nina was heavily injured, they had to go and check on her. Only 2 to 3 of Gu Mengmeng's hardcore pursuers were left by the stream, not because they did not care about Nina, but because the cause of her injury was unknown. If it was an invasion by stray beasts or a ferocious wild beast, it would be very dangerous for females to be weak and unable to protect themselves. So every female must have a male beast by her side to protect them. Compared to the large group that followed Elvis, it should be easier for Gu Mengmeng to find a chance to get rid of these 3 naive fellows. But compared to these 3 whom she could not name, Barit, who was in the stream, seemed especially special. He maintained a strange posture, half lying in the stream. His wound was just like that, soaking in the water. The skin that was flipped open was wrinkled, and the stream water poured into his mouth and nostrils. He was obviously in great pain, but he still didn't move. Barit? What's wrong? Gu Mingming did not have time to think. She hurriedly ran forward to help Barit sit up. Barit looked at Gu Mingming and asked awkwardly, "Can I move now?" Gu Mingming could not react in time. "Didn't you tell me to sit still?" So, Barit felt a little guilty. Actually, when he was thrown over by Elvis just now, he had secretly moved once to avoid the sharp rocks at the side of the stream. Even though he knew in his heart that Gu Mingming would definitely not know, he still felt guilty, so his voice became softer and softer. Gu Mingming smacked her forehead, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "That's why you didn't dodge when Elvis threw you. So many people ganged up on you. But you didn't run away just because I told you not to move?" "Yes." Barit nodded his head honestly. Gu Mingming's head drooped down weakly, the corners of her mouth twitching as she asked herself in her heart, "Could this be the latest way of picking up girls?" Sigh. "I told you not to move just now, because I was afraid that if you stood up, your wound would be affected, and it would be detrimental to your recovery. Didn't I tell you to stay here and be a punching bag? You didn't even dodge when you were being hit." Gu Mingming held onto Barit's arm and helped him up. Barit, who was 1.9 meters tall when he stood up, could not even lift his head after being lectured by Gu Mingming. That scene was a little cute. Aside from the topic, Gu Mingming, who was 1.7 meters tall, and Barit, who was 1.9 meters tall, would always lower his head whenever he looked at Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming. Damn it, I didn't know that the advantage of height could be used like this. Chapter 22. Gu Mingming helped Barit back to the original tree and checked his wound carefully. But strangely, although there were a few bruises on Barit's body, the deepest wound did not split open and bleed again. It was just that it had been soaked in water for a long time and now looked pale and wrinkled. "Barit." Gu Mingming hesitated for a moment. Although it was immoral to implicate an injured person, but Nina's injury could no longer be hidden. Elvis and that group of strong men could return anytime. Gu Mingming really did not have much time to consider the problem of character. Barit responded softly, his eyes never leaving Gu Mingming's face. Gu Mingming bit her lower lip, and after struggling for a while she said, "Let's escape together." Escape? Barit did not object. The males in the beast world had always been like this. If their females wanted to leave, they would leave. But why escape? Although Gu Mingming felt that Barit was very gentle to her, and he was the only person she could rely on now, she still did not tell Barit her true identity. After all, everything here was too strange, and before she understood the situation, she could not expose herself. So Gu Mingming said half-truthfully, "I hurt Nina. Elvis and the rest will definitely not let me off when they return later." Barit looked at Gu Mingming's frowning little face and felt his heart ache for her. He could not help but reach out to caress her brows and said gently, "You are a female. No matter how angry Nina's partner is, he will not make things difficult for you. If they want to fight, I will accompany them to the end, and Elvis will also protect you, so we don't have to escape." "We" was such a beautiful word. The moment Barit said it, he felt a warmth flowing through his chest. He looked at Gu Mingming with tenderness in his eyes, as if he was anticipating and afraid of hearing her correction. Luckily, Gu Mingming was only immersed in her own worries, and did not feel that there was anything wrong with Barit saying "we." "I hit Nina. Why would her partner fight with you?" Gu Mingming could not understand this logic. Barit arched his eyebrows and said proudly, "Because I'm your pursuer." What was the connection between the two? Gu Mingming was dumbfounded. Generally speaking, the grudges between females are settled by their males' duels. But you are still a young female without a partner. Strictly speaking, no male can hurt you. So, if they really can't bear it and can't wait for you to mate before taking revenge, they can only let your suitor come forward and fight with them. Does that mean that if you win, I will forget about hitting Nina, and you will not find trouble with me in the future? Gu Mingming's big eyes were shining brightly. Barit nodded and wanted to stroke Gu Mingming's furry little head, but he resisted the urge in the end. "What if you lose?" Gu Mingming continued asking. "If I die at the hands of Nina's partner, Your next suitor will step forward and accept the challenge. Until your suitor wins, or Nina's mates give up. Die. It was such a serious matter. How could Barit speak of it in such a carefree manner? Gu Mengmeng frowned and pressed her thin lips into a straight line. Her eyes were filled with questions, but she did not know how to ask. Aside from the topic, I received the contract signing invitation yesterday, and it has already been sent out. Yeah, these 2 days, the work will be changed to a contract signing status. After the status change, there will be an additional chapter every day, and 2,000 plus daily chapters. Chapter 23. Gu Mengmeng thought for a long time before saying, "It's better if you don't like me." Barit was taken aback and immediately grabbed onto Gu Mengmeng's retracting hand. "I'm very strong, I won't lose." Gu Mengmeng shook her head. "I'm not doubting your ability. I just don't want to implicate you. You said it yourself. I'm still a young female. No matter how angry Nina's partners are, they won't hurt me. You don't have to take such a risk for me. Fists have no eyes. There's no guarantee of who will win in a fight." Barit wanted to say something more, but Gu Mengmeng's lips twitched, revealing a sly smile. "Moreover, I'm already prepared to escape. Nina's partners won't abandon the injured Nina and chase after me to the ends of the earth, right? You still want to leave?" Barit felt a little sad. He thought Gu Mengmeng liked him, but she would rather leave alone than give him a chance to fight for her. "I don't belong here. I have to leave sooner or later." Gu Mengmeng patted her butt and stood up, leaning on Barit's shoulder, whispering into his ear, "Help me cover up." Before Barit could react, he saw Gu Mengmeng holding her stomach, wailing loudly, "Ouch, ouch, my stomach hurts." "Mengmeng." Barit was extremely worried. He wanted to carry her to Leah, but saw Gu Mengmeng winking at him with all her might. "It's all right. I'll just find a place to relieve myself." Although it was not a brilliant technique, it was good enough as long as it was useful. Oh. Barit looked at her for a long time before he understood Gu Mengmeng's meaning. He was conflicted but still nodded. Males could not go against the wishes of females. "Go, I'll stay here to guard you." Barit clenched his fists tightly, trying his best to stop himself from grabbing Gu Mengmeng back into his arms. In the end, he only said one sentence, "Be careful, don't go too far." "I'll find you." Barit shouted this sentence at the top of his lungs in his heart. Gu Mengmeng nodded, smiled at Barit, then ran away as if her butt was on fire. The 3 males guarding Gu Mengmeng wanted to chase after her, but were stopped by Barit. He didn't say anything. He just silently looked at the elephant ear leaf on the ground. His expression was wooden, but he didn't speak. After running for a long time, Gu Mengmeng heaved a sigh of relief when she realized that no one was chasing after her. She sprawled out on the ground, panting heavily like a fish that had been stranded. When she finally caught her breath and was about to get up and move on, she found that she had no idea where she was. The sky was already completely dark, and she was surrounded by towering ancient trees. Gu Mengmeng could not differentiate between north, south, east, and west. She had wanted to run back to the lake where Elvis had found her to see if there were any clues that could allow her to return to the modern world. But now she was completely lost. Moreover, this ancient forest was terrifyingly quiet. Forget about the chirping of birds and the chirping of insects. There wasn't even the sound of the wind. Just now, she was only focused on running, and did not realize it. Now that it had quietened down, she then realized how terrifying this place was. The sound of her heartbeat was deafening. Gu Mengmeng forced a smile to boost her courage. It's all right, crack. Something snapped. In the absolute silence, this originally insignificant sound scared Gu Mengmeng until she broke out in cold sweat. Who's there? "I see you," Gu Mengmeng bluffed. From the pure black curtain, a pair of glowing green eyes slowly appeared. Gu Mengmeng's vision was almost completely blind here. She could not see the other party's silhouette, and could only judge the other party's body shape from the height of the eyes. Such a height! Bear! Aside from the topic, good news, the contract that was sent out had already been signed. It was estimated that the status of the contract would change in 2 days. Chapter 24. Should she lie down and pretend to be dead? Bears don't seem to eat dead food, right? But are bears nocturnal animals? Damn it. Gu Mingming really regretted not watching Animal World these few years. Gu Mingming. Just as Gu Mingming was struggling and hesitating, the owner of the green eyes spoke. Even though she could not see his face clearly, Gu Mingming could clearly feel a chill, because that person squeezed out these 3 words from the gaps of his teeth. It was obvious that he did not come with good intentions. Who are you? Gu Mingming instinctively took a step back, pressing her back tightly against a big tree to prevent herself from being attacked from both front and back. She casually picked up a wooden stick from the side and used it to block her chest, staring at the pair of green eyes with caution. As the green eyes approached her step by step, Gu Mingming's entire body tensed up from the sound of the leaves being stepped on. If you come any closer, I won't be polite anymore. Gu Mingming waved the wooden stick in her hands, wondering if she could reach the height of the green eyes if she jumped up. Be polite? Ha! When you attacked Nina, you were already not polite anymore. The green eyes walked to Gu Mingming and stopped about a step away. Gu Mingming squinted her eyes and could barely see a silhouette. Not a bear, not a bear. Gu Mingming heaved a sigh of relief. Her brain then started working quickly. You are Nina's male? Gu Mingming thought to herself. She had just transmigrated here for less than half a day. If she had any enemies, it would only be that Nina. Yes, I am Nina's male, Quentin. Quentin said while using his hands to choke Gu Mingming's neck. His fingers slightly curled inwards, without a trace of pity. When you return to the embrace of the beast deity, remember to make it clear when you complain. It was I, Quentin, who killed you. It has nothing to do with Nina. Even though she could not see Quentin's expression, Gu Mingming could clearly feel his murderous intent with her slender neck. Without thinking further, Gu Mingming waved the wooden stick in her hands fiercely, hitting Quentin's head. With a crack, the wooden stick broke into 2. Gu Mingming's arms were numb from the shock, but Quentin's head did not even tilt. That's how you hit Nina, right? Gu Mingming's attack did not cause any actual harm to Quentin. Instead, it made him even angrier. Gu Mingming felt her feet slowly leaving the ground, and breathing became more and more difficult. She pulled Quentin's fingers with all her might and said in a breathless voice, I'm a young female. You can't kill me. If you stay in Saint Nazaire, I really can't hurt you. Otherwise, Nina will be expelled. But you actually ran out on your own, without the protection of the tribe. Even if I kill you, who will know? Quentin snorted coldly, and the strength in his hand increased. I won't let anyone who hurt Nina off. Even if you're a young female, you're no exception. Gu Mingming's heart was breaking down. What happened to the saying that males could not hurt young females? Wasn't it said that females were very precious here, and that all males would take care of and protect them? Barit, you've really deceived me. Out of topic. The good news was that Wenwen had passed the vetting process and was now signed. So from today onwards there will be 2 night shifts a day. Chapter 25. Quentin. Just when Gu Mingming was about to breathe her last, a voice rang above their heads. Quentin paused for a moment, as if he was hesitating for a moment. But soon after, he exerted more force on his hand, obviously wanting to kill Gu Mingming at all costs. Crack. Accompanied by a crisp sound, Gu Mingming's neck loosened, and the surrounding air rushed into her mouth and nose. She opened her mouth greedily and urgently like a fish that was stranded, gasping for air in big mouthfuls. Ah! Quentin's wail echoed through the forest. A bloody broken arm was casually thrown beside him. Gu Mingming fell into a soft embrace. That person gently caressed her back to soothe her breathing, as if the person who broke Quentin's arm was not him. Don't be scared, it's all right now. Gu Mingming was very weak, due to the lack of oxygen. She curled up in the man's arms like a boneless cat. His voice was calm, but it made Gu Mingming feel at ease. He was obviously a stranger, but at that moment, He gave her an absolute sense of security. Gu Mingming did not know why she trusted this person, who appeared out of nowhere. She just felt that his embrace was so warm that she could not help but want to rely on him. Yeah. Her voice was a little hoarse. Gu Mingming reluctantly responded, and did not say anything else. Are you willing to return to Saint Nazaire with me? The man asked again. Gu Mingming looked at Quentin, who was still wailing at the side, and felt sad. Although this person was despicable, he was right about one thing. In such a world, without the protection of a tribe, even if she died, who would know? Moreover, in this deep mountain forest, even if Nina's partners did not come to seek revenge, Gu Mingming would not survive more than 3 days. Rather than that, she might as well return to the Saint Nazaire tribe first. At least she still had Barit an acquaintance. If Elvis insisted on eating her up, it would not be too late to run. Thinking about that, Gu Mingming nodded her head in agreement. Getting Gu Mingming's approval, the man heaved a sigh of relief. He supported Gu Mingming's, but with one hand, and caressed her neck with the other, hugging Gu Mingming as if she was a child, and trying to make her as comfortable as possible. Taking 2 steps forward and passing by Quentin, the man stopped and looked down at Quentin, saying, "Follow me back to Saint Nazaire to receive the divine punishment." Yes. Quentin clenched his teeth and endured the intense pain. He followed closely behind the man with a crooked arm, stumbling all the way back to Saint Nazaire. That night, he had been running and being chased, and he had almost lost his life. The extreme uneasiness and panic consumed too much of Gu Mingming's energy. Coupled with the comfort and gentleness of the man's embrace, Gu Mingming quickly fell asleep. By the time she woke up, she had already returned to the Saint Nazaire tribe. You're awake. Elvis's face was cold, as if he was holding back his anger, but he could not bear to flare up at Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming blinked her eyes and looked around. She realized that she was in Elvis's cave, and there was no one else around. That person last night was definitely not Elvis. Thinking about that, Gu Mingming opened her mouth and asked, "Where's the person who saved me last night?" The moment Gu Mingming asked the question, Elvis punched the wall of the cave. Broken rocks flew everywhere, scaring Gu Mingming so much that she curled up, wishing that she could hide into her own shadow. Aside from the topic, let me ask everyone a question. Do you guys prefer one 2,000-word section or 2 1,000-word sections? Chapter 26. Noticing Gu Mingming's fear, Elvis suppressed his anger forcefully. Leah is hosting the deity's punishment ceremony, and will come to see you tonight. Gu Mingming realized that although Elvis looked very angry, he did not have the intention to hurt her. Thus, she became bolder and popped her head out from the shadows to ask, "What is the deity's punishment ceremony?" Elvis pursed his lips and frowned. He did not want to tell Gu Mingming about the deity's punishment ceremony, because she seemed to be very interested in both the person executing the ceremony and one of the people being punished. He especially disliked the feeling of Gu Mingming placing her attention on a male beast other than him. But facing Gu Mingming's clear and sparkling eyes, Elvis could not bring himself to reject her. He could only hold it in until he was about to suffer internal injuries and satisfy Gu Mingming's thirst for knowledge. Hurting a female is a serious crime, and no tribe will let it off easily. Hurting a young female is also a blasphemy against the beast deity. So the criminal must be placed on the deity altar and exposed to the sun for 3 days. If he does not turn back into his beast form after 3 days, it means that the beast deity has forgiven him, and we just have to chase him out of the tribe. Elvis said while observing Gu Mingming's expression. He realized that when he answered Gu Mingming's doubts, Gu Mingming's clear doe-like eyes would focus on him. Hence, he cleared his throat and continued, "I'm not sure. But if the criminal cannot maintain his human form and turns back into his beast form after 3 days, it means that the beast deity is furious. The criminal must be skinned to make a flag, and the witch doctor in the tribe will plant it on the beast deity mountain to appease the beast deity." Gu Mingming obtained an important message from Elvis's words. Maintain human form, and turn back into beast form. So, Elvis was not the only wolf demon in St. Nazaire. Everyone else was a demon. Damn girl. I don't even need to say anything when I transmigrated to a place where birds can urinate and poop anywhere they want, and there is no Wi-Fi. Why are there still demons running around everywhere? Where's my monkey brother? Where's my monkey brother? I urgently need a monkey that knows how to do somersault clouds, the kind that can fly to the sky, dive into the ground and fight demons. Elvis had another interpretation of Gu Mingming's lifeless expression. He thought that she must have guessed that person was among the people being punished, and that was why she looked so troubled. So unhappy. What if he wanted to carry out the execution personally? That. Gu Mingming pursed her lips and weighed the pros and cons of escaping or staying. She decided to stay. Firstly, the world was so big. He would get lost if he ran around randomly. Secondly, she was just a weak and beautiful girl, who did not even have the strength to truss a chicken. How could she outrun a group of demons? Since she had decided to stay, Gu Mingming thought that she should suck up to Elvis. After all, the people here seemed to be afraid of him. Thus, Gu Mingming plucked up her courage and inched forward. She used 2 fingers to pinch the corner of Elvis's beast-skin dress carefully, and tried to look innocent and innocent. She said in a tone that was clearly trying to please him, "Elvis, are you taking in followers? The kind that can act cute." Follower? Elvis raised his brows in confusion, not understanding what she meant. "Yes, lackey." Gu Mingming nodded her head heavily and said, "They are the 3 escorts who follow behind you every day, pour you tea, massage your back, accompany you to eat, accompany you to shop, and even chat with you." Aside from the topic, my friends, Jenner is bad at naming. But the new novel needs a large number of character names, both male and female. Requesting for backup. I want names that look high class, but do not repeat other people's novels. I want both male and female. I want a large number of them. Chapter 27. He had to admit that Gu Mingming's suggestion moved Elvis very much. The tips of Elvis's ears were stained with a tinge of red. He turned his face to the side, and did not look at Gu Mingming awkwardly. He asked in a stiff voice, "If you become my follower, you won't leave again?" Gu Mingming immediately nodded her head firmly and said, "As long as you are willing to protect me, I will follow you closely and not go anywhere else." Nonsense, this world was so dangerous. Who knew if she would be eaten by someone else if she ran around randomly? Rather than being eaten by a demon that she did not know, it was better to be eaten by Elvis. At least he was handsome, Confucius once said. A handsome person will not look too ugly when he eats. May I trouble my friends to help me press down on Confucius' coffin? I am afraid that he wants to climb out and strangle me to death. The 4 words closely successfully captured Elvis's manic heart. For a moment his heart, which had been beating uncontrollably, suddenly stopped for a few seconds. Although Elvis still did not understand what kind of title follower was, he guessed that it should have the same meaning as partner. Perhaps this was the language used by the beast deity, and the messenger of the beast deity. So he did not understand it. After all, other than partners, what kind of relationship could be inseparable? Thus, Elvis held his head high and walked to Gu Mingming with big steps. He pulled Gu Mingming into his arms and rested his chin on her neck. Using a deep voice that sounded like a cello, he said, "All right, from today onwards, you're my follower." Gu Mingming's eyes lit up. Elvis hugged Gu Mingming tightly. Although Gu Mingming was just a young female and could not mate now, she was already his follower. This should mean that she had already acknowledged him as her future partner, right? With this identity, Elvis seemed to like the feeling of hugging Gu Mingming even more. He thought that this warmth that spread from his chest to his limbs should be the feeling of happiness. Gu Mingming totally did not know that Elvis had understood follower as engagement. She only thought that Elvis was a passionate demon, so she hugged him back and patted his back twice. She said in a flattering tone, "Leader, from today onwards, I will follow you. You have to take care of me." "All right." Elvis agreed readily. It was his duty to take care of his own female, Gu Mengmeng felt that she had hugged an especially strong thigh and could do whatever she wanted in Saint Nazaire in the future. Nina's partner probably wouldn't dare to cause trouble for her anymore, right? With that thought, Gu Mengmeng heaved a huge sigh of relief. Once a person relaxed, the accumulated consumption would show itself. Gurgle gurgle, Gu Mengmeng's stomach started protesting. It had already been 17 or 18 hours since she transmigrated here, and she had not eaten anything yet. Leader. Gu Mengmeng held her stomach with one hand and wrapped her other arm around Elvis's neck, putting on a pitiful expression, as if she was begging for food. Elvis furrowed his brows. He had neglected it. Females were different from males. Males could not eat for 3 days, and one meal could last 3 days, but females could not stand it. I'll go find food for you. Wait for me in the cave and don't run around, Elvis said, but did not let go of Gu Mengmeng. He knew that he should first take care of females, but the feeling of hugging her rightfully was too good. He just could not let go of the hand that was hugging her. Digression. Author Ian, Elvis. Actually, other than partners, parents and family members can also be inseparable. Elvis, what did you say? The wind is too strong. I can't hear you clearly. Author Ian. I said, other than partners, parents and family members can also be inseparable. Elvis. I allow you to look at my fangs and reorganize your words. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.